So on March 13th, 2015, County Executive Baker announced his 2016 budget proposal, which includes a dramatic increase in funding for Prince George's County Public Schools. The proposed investment of over $130 million is intended to move our school system from being consistently ranked 23rd out of 24th to being one of the top 10 school districts by the year 2020. This rapid improvement of our school system will occur as a result of implementing the programs in the new strategic plan of the Prince George's County Public Schools. This infusion of funds will be used to implement the programs in the strategic plan, which we're going to hear more about later. But it's going to require sacrifice from all of us because there's going to need to be some tax increases to fund this major improvement in our school system and rapid improvement in our school system. It's going to require a 15 cents increase in the real property tax rate, an increase of 38 cents in the personal property tax rate, and a 4% increase in the telecommunications tax. Now, that may sound like a lot, but it's for our children. I have the privilege now of introducing Prince George's County Executive Rushern Baker. Next, you will hear from Dr. Kevin Maxwell, CEO of the public schools, and then Dr. Eubanks, who is chair of the board, to give us their opening thoughts. Mr. Baker?
Yep. Thank you, Betty. Can we give Betty a round of applause?
Yeah.
Great job, Betty. I'm not going to be long because this really is about a discussion with you on education. It's really not even a discussion about our budget that we submitted to the county council. It's about whether, in fact, Prince George's County is serious about moving our education system forward, and if we are, what does that cost, and what are we willing to do? And that's what this discussion is about. Betty told you that the proposal that we sent down to the county council has a 15-cent increase on our property taxes. 15 cents on our property taxes. 15 cents on our property taxes. All of the $133 million goes to our school system. All of the $133 million goes to our school system. What that means for our general budget is that we cut every agency in the government by 5%. We're proposing to the council for the general budget that we lay off 110 actual individuals who are working, that we furlough 5 days county employees, including myself. 15 cents increase on property taxes, $133 million that goes directly to schools. What we asked the superintendent to do, the CEO, Dr. Maxwell, was to give us a budget that will take us from 23rd or 24th, which is where we've been in the state for 30 years. 23rd or 24th, which is where we've been in the state for 30 years. How do we move the county from 23rd or 24th, where we've been for 30 years, up to the top 10 in this state? How do we move from the bottom to the top 10? What does that mean? Give us line item by line item where we invest those funds to move us. And how do we hold the system and the county government more accountable? That is what this discussion is about. Every elected official that has run for office in this county in the last 30 years that I've been here has said education is their #1 priority. Every elected official, including this one, that we will do everything we can to make sure that the young people in Prince George's County get a quality, first-rate education. Every elected official has said schools like Capitol Heights deserve the best teachers and the best principals, and we should pay them so we don't lose them. Everyone says our children should have iPads, digital learning. Everyone who's run for office has said they will do this. Everyone. So the question is, how serious were we when we said that? And how much does that cost? And what are we willing to pay and sacrifice for? That's what this budget is. It's sacrifice. On the general side, which I control, we're cutting. Cutting departments, cutting individuals, cutting salaries, we're cutting. On the education side, which Dr. Maxwell controls, we're investing. Everyone wants their property values to go up. They don't go up without great school systems. If anybody tells you different, they're lying to you. They're lying to you. Crime is down in this county. Economic development is up, and our property values are still underwater. Education, education, education. You want to know the difference between us in Montgomery County, in Fairfax County, in Arlington County? It's not crime. Crime is down. It's not economic development because it's coming here. It's our school system. The way we get out of that is to invest. This is not a tax increase. This is an investment. And for a very selfish reason. One, because we want our kids educated better than anybody else. Two, because we want our property values to be better than anybody else. Three, because we want businesses to come here. That is what people elected me to do. This is the time. So the conversation is, what does it really mean? Because if we aren't serious, if we really didn't mean it, if we were only joking, if we really didn't, then we need to say that. This is the time. This is the time. Dr. Maxwell.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. Is that all? So good evening, everybody. It's great to be here tonight at Capitol Heights Elementary School. I too want to join in thanking Nina Lattimore, the principal, and her wonderful staff, her children and parents here at the school. What a great school we're standing in. I started my administrative career right down the street from here at Central High School. I spent 6 wonderful years there. I grew up in this county like many of the people in this room tonight. And I believe in the promise of this county. I believe in the promise of 2010. When Mr. Baker gave me the opportunity to return to Prince George's County last year, I was thrilled. Some other people maybe not, but I was thrilled because I do know the potential of 2020. I know the potential of this school system, of these communities. I've worked across this county. I've lived in this county since I was 7 years old, and believe me, that was almost 60 years ago. What I was asked to do, Mr. Baker, the board, people said, well, who asked? Everybody's been asking me the same question. What does it take to move this district forward? Not tread water, not continue to not get things done, but what does it take to really improve this school district? And what it takes is the strategic plan that we laid out. We spent over a year. We had a task force that came in here at the very beginning of my tenure last year. Real experts from across the country and around the state who came in here from outside and worked with our folks and looked at the different parts of the school district. And they gave us some really, really great recommendations on how we could get some improvement in the district and how we could make sure that our kids are getting the quality education that we all want them to get. We went from there to surveying internal people and external people, a lot through our website, and got thousands of responses to that, put all that information together, and began a really in-depth conversation about how we move things forward. But I want to also say that at the same time we were doing that, we were working to get immediate improvement in this school district. In our first year, that ended last school year, and the results were certified by the State Department of Education, Maryland State Department of Education in January. Our graduation rate went up in Prince George's County 2.47%. It's the highest increase of any district in the state. And while we're still lagging behind, I assure you that that was a significant improvement because we were focused like lasers on these issues. Our 9th grade promotion rate went up over 4%, right? After 9 straight years of decline in enrollment in Prince George's County, our enrollment went up 3,600 kids in the first 18 to 20 months, in the last 18 to 20 months. That's really significant, that we have people beginning to believe that with the programs in our neighborhood schools, the programs in our specialty schools, that we are really providing an education that will give their children what they need. But to do that sustained over time and get the results in a fairly reasonable time frame, as opposed to saying, oh, we'll get some improvement, but we'll do it 30 more years from now. That's not good enough for the kids in our schools today. It's not good enough for the kids here at Capitol Heights Elementary School or Doswell Brooks down the street, right? It's not good enough. It's got to be for everybody, and it's got to be soon. We've had parents the whole last year and early this year coming in and saying it's great that you have expanded the gifted programs. It's great that you've started some immersion programs. But parents, our friends in other organizations, the NAACP, Bob Ross is here tonight. What are you doing for our neighborhood schools? So this is all centered, not all, but a lot of this is centered around neighborhood school improvement, right? Putting literacy coaches in neighborhood schools, making sure that everybody has the opportunity to get on, as Mr. Baker said, iPads, digital literacy. You can't, the only time a kid sits in front of a computer can't be when they take the exams that the state and the federal government are asking us to have. You can't expect them to do well if they don't have access to the technology that they're tested on. It just doesn't make any sense. And so there are different pieces of this, and there are other support pieces too. We have a lot of kids in our district that are eligible for free and reduced meals. And when we got here last year, less than 60% of them, around 60%, less than 70 certainly, of the children who are eligible for free and reduced meals were eating breakfast. And I assure you, when our kids don't eat, by the time they're in mid-morning, they're no longer thinking about math or social studies, science or reading. They're thinking about lunch. They're thinking about the opportunity to eat. And so for the poverty that we do have, we all still have to understand that this is a pretty wealthy state, right? And it is pretty incredible that in one of the wealthiest states in this country, which is the wealthiest country in the world, that we have hungry children coming to school here in Prince George's County. And we've got to address these issues. We have to provide some work on literacy and numeracy. Our definition includes literacy and numeracy, but people like to hear the word numeracy, so I'm going to throw it out there for you tonight. You know, we know that we're tested in reading and we're tested in math. We're tested in a bunch of other things as well. But for our kids to consistently get better, right, we've got to be able to provide the resources. One other, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Eubanks to let him talk, and we'll answer questions and have a conversation. Mr. Baker mentioned compensating our teachers. And you saw a bunch of our teachers here from Capitol Heights tonight, and I know there are some here from other places as well. And I should include administrators in that as well. Since I think it was the 2006-2007 school year, we have about 9,500 teachers, give or take. We've had 9,700 teachers, 9,700 teachers. Since I believe it was the 2006-2007 school year, we've replaced 7,100 teachers. Now, some of them have been replaced multiple times, but that's a lot of turnover, ladies and gentlemen. For us to be able to put quality teachers in front of our children, it costs us money to recruit them, to pay them, to provide the professional development they need, and we can't afford not to compensate them so they don't leave to higher paying school districts. People can talk about who we compare ourselves to, but if we want to be something better in the future, we've got to compare ourselves, we've got to benchmark ourselves, and we've got to put a stake in the ground, as Mr. Baker has done, and say, we're going to fix this problem. Our teachers start, when they start a couple $1,000s a year less than some of our neighboring districts. By the time they've been here 7 or 8 years, depending on which salary lane they're in, they're between $10,000 and $15,000 a year behind Montgomery County. That's why we're having the turnover that we're having. That's why we're having trouble stabilizing even in the principalships. Getting people to stay and commit is really hard to do when there are two trying to raise their families as well. So again, I don't want to, I see another board member, Sonia Williams, has arrived. Welcome. No, this, you can't sneak in the back. This is the board area, teacher meeting area. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Eubanks, but I just want to say one more time, you know, we can do this, but we need the resources to do it. If we continue to grow our graduation rate, increase our graduation rate by 2, 2.5, 2 3/4, no question we'll be in the top 10. We'll probably be higher than the top 10 by 2020, right? Just do the math. You know, you can look at the state charts. You can see how far behind. If we grow at 2.5% or so a year, we'll be there. No question about it. If our ninth grade promotion rate continues to rise, and I'm telling you, we're focused on it like crazy. Our second grade reading scores went up. But we need the resources to really expand this and get it really going. Dr. Eubanks.
Thank you. Honored to be here and engage in the conversation with you. I'll try to be brief as well. Let's get the dialogue going. You know, your Board of Education, my colleagues who are here with you today, whether appointed or elected, we represent you. We are homeowners like you. My house is, my mortgage is underwater like so many of you. We're parents. I had my first, my son went through, graduated Flowers. He's at college now. My daughter's a student in high school. So many of us are parents. We struggle with the same things you struggle with every day. So our perspective was to bring you into the room when we talk about improving education every day. And so when we looked at what we really wanted to do with the system, see, we recognized that we have good schools all throughout this county. But our failure is that we don't deliver excellence for every student in every school every day. Every student, every school, every day. Now, I know this is a great TAG program, and I know just how it works, right? We've seen it work as parents. I love my TAG elementary school, but I don't know about that middle school down the street. If I pass that test and get into Roosevelt, I'm good. But if I don't go there, I'm going to send them to that high school down the street. What can we do to transform this so that no matter where we send our kids, I tell them, we can't build a system in which if you're lucky because you're in the lottery, or if your kid is smart, you're in good shape. And if you're not sure what quality of education you're going to get. Right. We need to change that. We know that we can prepare every student in every school every day. And that means our students who are English language learners. That means our students who are, you know, we play this game so much. I learned so much. I love this county. It's home. When I moved here in 1999, I looked at this big round circle and I said, I want to live inside of it because it's closer to the city. I didn't know, inside the building. Inside, how about outside? All of that stuff that we play in our system, we know that we have the opportunity to really transform it. The other thing that I'll just say, I'll offer to the board, when we brought into this strategic plan in this budget, we said that we're gonna laser focus as a board on 3 things: transparency, accountability, and trust. Right? When you make this investment in us, when you make the sacrifice, you have to know. That's why we came up, we're going to do an annual report card. We're going to show you the metrics. We're going to show you this is what we're measuring. This is what we expect. And every year, every time you come to us, we'll say, here's how far we've gotten. Here's where we've succeeded. And if we're missing the mark, here's what we're doing to improve it. So we are going to ensure that you get the return on your investment. The concept of an investment is you must get a return greater than what you gave. And we believe we have a plan that if you give this investment, the return is going to be greater. I'll say this finally. We started to do, we just put a new mission statement out. The mission of Prince George's Public Schools is what has always been: to deliver a great education for every student and to contribute to thriving communities. that second part is important. We're not just about, when our kids graduate, they got to pay taxes in Prince George's County. They have to be productive citizens. They have to have the skills, knowledge, and that they need to staff this new FBI headquarters that's coming our way. All this new economic development, our students need to be ready to contribute to the community. And this is a plan that's going to get us there. And if we can really come together, I've said this for a long time, if we can really come together the next 5 years, they're going to be writing books about us. We're going to be a national example of how you can highly educate every student in every school every year. We can do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, panelists. So now we get to our conversation. I have a lot of questions here. We're going to try to get through all of them. I don't know if we'll be able to, but we're going to get through as many as we possibly can. If anybody has a question, and you know you have a question now, but you haven't written it down, please ask one of my colleagues here, and they will come around and give you a card to write your question. But let's move on. Has everybody got their cell phones turned off? And well, can you turn them off and put them on vibrate? Because we got some big business here to do here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's our first question.
All right.
I read in the past recently about the county wanting to raise taxes to improve the quality of our schools in the county. Why not raise the academic and technological advantages of our current school to a higher level without raising taxes?
Who, if you don't mind, who wrote that question?
And well, how many people agree with the?
How many people agree with the question?
Absolutely.
Because it sounds great.
Absolutely.
Because the premise of the question is, why don't we do the things we're talking about here, the $133 million investment in our school system, without raising property taxes? We haven't raised it in 30 years. Why start now? I posed that question to our budget guy. I said, Thomas, come up here. Because I'm like y'all. I live in Cheverly. I can barely pay my mortgage. I got two kids in college. I said, you know what? I can't pay anymore. Thomas, come on over here to me. Tell me, Thomas, because you can handle the budget, right?
Yep.
Okay. Out of our budget, which funds everything. That means your roads. That means your hospital. That means the people who work around the county. That's everything. And as you saw from the state last night, they ain't giving us no money. They ain't giving us no money. Anyway, back to the question. Thomas, I'd like to fund the $133 million, which will move us from the bottom to the top. How can I do that without raising revenue?
I'll let you slide in and put it in writing. No, we had this conversation, and reality is this, to kind of put it in perspective. You know, he talked about the current budget has 110 layoffs in it. To do 133 million, we're talking laying off 20% of the workforce.
How many is that in number?
So over 1,300 people. So, Barry Stanton's here, we have about 1,700 police officers. That's over 340 police officers we would lay off. So the reality is we don't have the additional resources, but what we did do was balance it out so that the rest of government makes sacrifices in order to do the $133 million investment. And that's the exercise we went through. A bunch of us were in the room, and that's the same conversation we had. But that's the reality of it, is that. That's not rational from our perspective to make all the improvements that we've done to lay off essentially 20% of the workforce of the government. Because that impacts healthcare, that impacts fire response, that impacts police response, everything, 911 calls, all those things that we are accustomed to getting a good, quick service for. Those are going to suffer if we had to find it within the existing resources.
Right. So the next question, probably follow-up question to that would have been, why don't we go to the state and ask them for the money? sounds logical, we pay taxes to the state. Why don't we go there and ask the state to fund us more money for our education system? Now, mind you, the state funds us already, how much percentage?
61%.
61% or 55% other, they fund us that much. Last night, we were supposed to get $20 million to go to our school system. I believe it's about 20, right? 20.2. 20.2. You know how much we got last night? Can anybody tell me how much we got for our school system? GCI went, anybody know how much we got from the state? Zero. So the question becomes for us, at the same time we're funding 35% of county resources to education, Montgomery County is funding 66% of Montgomery County resources to that. Arlington County is funding 83% to theirs. So what we're left with is two things. In all seriousness, this is what we had to decide to do. On the operations side, which I control, we cut it. We cut the budget. We're laying people off. We're furloughing people. We're not giving the police department the classes they want. I think we're giving them 3 classes, right? Or 2. We're giving them 2. They wanted 3. Fire department's getting how many? 2. Or 1. Fire department's getting 1. The corrections is getting 1.
Maybe a half.
Maybe a half. State's attorney's office is getting, any new state's attorney to prosecute? 5. Deputy sheriff. Down the line, every single department. How much did we cut you, Teresa? Family services. 2%. Every single department. So what we did was, we sacrificed. We said we're not going to spend more than we have in here, except in the one important area, and that's education. And the only reason I can do that is because the legislature decided it was not going to give us any more money. So they gave us the ability to do what other jurisdictions can do without going to the legislature. And that is to come to you and say, invest 15 cents for the program. So believe me, if there was another option, if I could print money, I'd be printing it. Because I don't want to pay no more either. But I also don't want to see your property values down. And more importantly, I want us to have a good public school system. Betty?
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
So we'll go on to our next
You
question.
want to read it?
Yes.
We have recently noticed the closure of elementary schools inside the Beltway. Glen, can you all hear me? I'm sorry. We've recently noticed the closure of elementary schools inside the Beltway, specifically Kenmore and Glenarden Woods, which was a tag center, and Claggett. Is that due to low enrollment or budget constraints or school performance? What does that mean for this school, specifically Capitol Heights Elementary School, and our ability to meet the needs of tag students affected by the closures?
So closures happen for a couple of reasons, and there are schools in our school district that are very under-enrolled. And so we've closed one, it wasn't inside the Beltway, but Thomas Claggett, for example, because of the under-enrollment, and we moved them elsewhere. Kenmore, the issue with Kenmore is it's very under-enrolled, but we also have a need for early childhood in special education, early childhood centers. So we're going to reopen it as an early childhood center to take some pressure off of that. We have places in our county where the enrollments are down, and places in our counties where we don't have any space left. We need to build 2 additional middle schools, for example, in the northern half of the county, but we have space in other places. Glenarden Woods is being redone, being renovated, so it's been relocated over at Robert Goddard, and it'll be put back into the school when the renovation work is done. But I think the question about, what does it mean for gifted children, there are a couple issues, and I meet regularly with the gifted parent organization, talk with them as well, met with their organization each year since I've been back. There's a kind of a dual way we approach gifted education. One is the gifted centers. But there are a lot of parents who have kids that are gifted or able to do gifted work, that don't want to send their kids to centers. They want to have programs in schools. And so part of this budget is also to enhance gifted education in neighborhood schools. Back to that, I don't have the number in my brain. You got it, 50? No, that's not right.
So I'm asking him, how much would it cost to do those centers here
No.
the way people want,
The gifted,
the gifted?
the additional gifted.
We're looking it up,
Yeah, okay.
So, but I would say that, part of the other issue here is the growing enrollment in our school system. I mentioned 3,600 more kids in the first 18 or 20 months of my tenure here. And so what we're trying to do is be careful that we don't close schools that we may need to have later on. And so, we do have some conversation from time to time about some of the schools we enroll, but we're going to have needs. They may not be the same needs. And Kenmore, I think, is a really good example. It was pretty low enrollment, but we did have another need, and so we decided to repurpose it or retask it and move the kids that were there into other schools, and then open that as an early childhood center. So again, we're trying to be smart about how we do that and use the resources that we have well.
Thinking you can add anything? Okay, Betty?
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. If the proposed 15% tax increase, and it's really 15 cents, is approved, how will it benefit my children, one of whom attends Capitol Heights and the other who attends Walker Mill? To be specific, my son is classified as a tag student, but is not in a tag class because the class is full. He and 100 others are entered into a lottery each year, but are never provided another teacher to have another tag class, so he and his peers can receive the advanced education they're entitled to. What's the short-term solution to this?
And it is 15 cents, because depending on where you are in the county will determine what the actual amount that you pay. So there's some, and we can give you, if it comes up in a question, we can tell you how much you're going to pay in various areas. There are parts of the county that will, there are parts of the county that will pay more. There are parts of the county that will pay less. But guess what? They're all our children. Guess what? It's not the county of Bowie, it's not the county of Shepherdly, not the county of Capitol Heights, not the county of Fort Washington, it's the county of Prince George's. So when they look at your assessment and they look at the value, they look at the county. So yes, there will be some who pay more, some who pay less, but the overall benefit for the county will bring us up. Dr. Mack, you want to talk about the school?
So if I understand the question, it was about, being eligible for a program but not having enough
At that
teachers.
particular school. Can you read that, Betty? They named the school.
Capitol Heights.
It is Capitol.
Yeah. Capitol Heights is
Right.
in the middle? Walker Mill. Okay.
So again, we staff our schools based on a ratio of children, and it's different for elementary schools than middle schools. It's different for some programs than others. And so I believe, and again, I can talk to Ms. Lattimore about it, but I believe we've staffed the school appropriately here, so I'm not really sure that I understand without more information why somebody doesn't have a seat. But I will say that when I visited all of the schools in this district, and it's a very big district last year, I found some appalling class sizes, right? But I can't hire more teachers without more money, right? That's part of this very question. I went to high school advanced placement, college level classes, and found teachers trying to teach a couple advanced placement college level classes in AP English with over 42 kids in them. Now, how do you ask a teacher to really teach college level courses with that kind of course load a couple times a day and really do it well and be able to grade those papers and give those kids the time and attention they need? Our kids in our elementary schools, we're seeing an art teacher for about 30 minutes once every 8 or 9 weeks. That is not an art program. That is not an art program. It's a chance encounter. Right? It's just, we are not doing right by our children. And I think that question points to it. How do we get more teachers? We have to pay them. It's as simple as that. I can't go from 9,700 teachers to 10,000 teachers unless I have money to pay them. And it's as simple as that. And in terms of actual staffing in individual schools, we have allocated the staff that we have available to us to our schools on a ratio. And I do have, if there's somebody who wants to ask that particular question, I know that I have at least one of my associate superintendents here, Dr. Denise Green. And if you want to hand her a little more specificity, we can get you a specific answer back. Because again, I can't speak to individual kids and what they have or don't have without knowing a little bit more information than that question gives me.
The only other thing I would add is what excites us a lot also about the budget proposal is it increases, we've already proposed significant increases in the number of tag seats available, but the Neighborhood Schools Initiative and increasing what we call the school-based budgeting formula, which gives significantly more resources to each and every school, means we're really going to move away from kind of a bifurcated system where you have two different systems. You know, again, I'm talking as a parent. I had one who went through tag and one who went through comprehensive. And I went into those comprehensive, and when I went in tag, I said, this is just what every kid should get. Every kid should get this level of rigor. Every kid should get this kind of resources. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that it's not about whether or not your student is in tag. If they're in tag because they have some special opportunities, we want that to happen. But it's no matter where they end up that they're going to get what they need.
And I have an answer on the investment of the investment of the budget through the strategic plan in gifted education. And that is over 3 years. It's $6 million, and it will provide a tag specialist in every single elementary school in the district.
Can you say that again? Every single?
Every elementary school will get a tag specialist. Neighborhood schools, you know, I mean, we have tag specialists here, but every elementary school will have a tag specialist over 3 years. They won't all get them next year because the budget starts next year, but it's a 3-year budget plan. It's a 5-year strategic plan.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. So we have a little logistical issue right here. Were you going to say something? Okay. Dr. Eubanks. So we have a little logistical problem. We have so many good questions, and we have been trying to group them together so that like questions were only answered once. But we have a lot of different questions we're finding. So I think I'm going to shift up in another minute or so that we can take some of the questions that haven't already been assigned a number, and hope to get more questions of the people who just submitted them later during this time. Does that seem to be okay with everybody? Okay. Let's just keep rolling. How does the strategic plan impact public charter schools? Will salary increases, iPad, Chromebook purchases, etc. be provided to charter schools also? Does anybody else wonder that other than the person who wrote this question?
That's a good question.
So charter schools, by law, are public schools. There are some exceptions, however. They can opt out of some pieces of it, but their employees in Maryland are our employees. They're actually our employees. They're hired by the school. They staff that school according to the allotment that they have. And so the salary increases will affect charter school teachers as well. The iPads, they have some flexibility in whether they want to do some of those things like we do. They have some, for those of you that have kids in charter schools or have considered it, some of them do transportation, some of them don't. That's how they save,
Does the cost of this come out of the budget, your budget?
We fund the charter schools, yes, sir. And there's a formula for that. They get a certain proportion, I think it's 90-some% of what we get, because there's a deduct for, we write the paychecks, we do the hiring, we do the other pieces.
So I mean, to answer the question, I think the question.
Memory serves at 7,800 per share.
Yeah, I think the question goes to when we increase the amount investment in education, does it include charter schools?
Yes.
And I think the overall question is yes.
Yes.
So the money we're talking about is educating all of our children in all of our public and public charter schools. So the money will go to those charter schools also. Correct. Yes,
Do we
sir.
have statistical data then on the development of kids in charter schools versus the public system? I mean, the same system.
So their test results are available just like all the rest of our ones are, yes. Nationally, they don't see a lot of difference. I think with many of the charter schools, there are a few exceptions there. It depends on some of the special areas that some of the charter schools operate in. But the funding question is, yes, they get funded in Maryland at least.
Right, and I think your question on accountability, the accountability question is the same as that is, just as you can look at the charter schools right now and to see whether they're making progress, you'll be able to see with this funding, which goes directly to impact classrooms, charter schools will be, you'll be able to track it and look at it the same way.
And they're held in Maryland to the same standards that everyone else. It takes the same exams to graduate, it takes the same credits. You still have to have a certain number of English credits, math credits, but there are, again, some parts of, some focus mostly of the charter schools that's a little bit different, whether it's a character education or whether it's math and computer, specialty program, but they have the same exam requirements, the same graduation requirements, the same seat hour requirements, all the other things are the same.
So, and this is one I know a lot of people have. What happened to the funding from casinos?
Everybody want to know, where you go? Casino. What happened to the money coming for? Now, let me just see. Maryland Live. So we wanted to talk about Maryland Live? Maryland Live? Horseshoe? Where's the other? All of them. Where is all of that money? Because I can't wait. MGM is coming. It's going to be the bomb.
Take that money in.
Oh, it's going to be nice. MGM. We should give it to the school system. So, that is my favorite question. Because where is that money coming from? Thomas. Come on up. You guys know Tom? Come on, Tom. So, because I asked Tom the same thing. I said, Tom, where is my money from gambling? I don't gamble, but I want to thank y'all who did. My wife won't let me because we ain't got that much money. But where is my money? But not MGM, because we know that's not going to be built to 2016, right? It's going to be the bomb, though. It's going to be nice. Don't bring your money. Do you hear that? Instead of cutting salaries, cut that. Where is the money? Where is the money from the gaming that's coming here, and why can't I use that for my $133 million?
I'm going to give you an analogy to better explain it. So I'm going to give Dr. Eubanks 6.
And we're not doing a percentage, it's 15 cents that will be added on there. The other thing to remember, because we do get this in some municipalities that charge more. I know for Cheverly, where I live, they informed me that they didn't like it because they're going to raise my taxes in Cheverly. They said, well, we want to raise your taxes. But I reminded them that the taxes that they're raising for me in Cheverly won't go to Gladys Noon Spellman, the school in Cheverly. Won't go to make sure it's a quality, and will not raise the property value. But I think we did it at 15 cents, so that way across the board, it's fair across the board for everyone in terms of how it hits. And we're actually addressing the municipalities on this issue.
Can I say something? I mean, granted, I believe in education. I believe our young kids need it, and I believe that the school system needs to upgrade, especially in technology.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if you're going to increase and then cut jobs, people don't need their job. They need their job. I mean, I think that if you want to increase our taxes, then their jobs need to stay. And that furlough stuff, I mean, I think higher management needs to have their income cut. And then let the low-paid people, like the teachers and the lower staff.
You made a good comment.
I mean, I wouldn't have no problem with that.
Right. So hold it. Let me just answer that question, and we're going to get back to reading that, because I think that's an important question. The thing was, people need their jobs. I need my good government job. People need their jobs. So why don't we spend the money that we get from you to make sure people keep their jobs? One, there's no furloughs. Now, mind you, we have to remember, there are two separate budgets. There is the school budget, which the increase in the property taxes can only go to the schools. The increase in taxes can only be used for the schools. So it can't be used to save Barry Stanton's job. Sorry, he works for the government, Prince George's government, and I'm being dead serious. It can't save his job. It can't save the officer who patrols around here's job. It can't save the firefighter's job. It can't save my job. It can only be used to fund education. That is the law. I can't use it to save those folks' jobs. So the only way I could save their job is to find another method. Y'all cut this off. You can see what I mean?
Yes.
So the only way I can save Barry Stanton's job is to tax you another way. And guess what? Lucky for you, I cannot. I cannot. I cannot ask you for more revenue to save Mr. Stanton's job, or the firefighter, or the health officer, or Teresa Grant, or Betty. I can't. I can only use the money that I have unless the state is nice enough to give me more. So therefore, if I don't want our AAA bond rating, which we use as our credit, to go down, I have to make, and this is the argument with the council now, we have to make serious discussion. Or what we will be doing is bankrupting the county. So guess what? The money I can use, I then have to make decisions. Do I bankrupt the county and spend only the money that you have given me? I can only do this because I don't have any more. So in order to use the money you have given me for me, remember, I can't use their money. That money we're talking about now, that's Dr. Maxwell. That ain't Rashawn Baker. That means the unions, the FOP, the firefighters, the employees, they all hate me. Universal hate. Because I can't save their jobs. So the answer to it is I can't use the money to save their jobs because we don't have enough. So the only way I can do that is either to shut down, what would give me enough money to keep people's jobs? What do I shut down? This is serious, because this is like what you do at home. Remember, I've got only a certain amount. I can't print any more money or they'll throw me in jail. So I can't print it. I can't do it.
What if you stop, you could put some
Wait,
of these...
Hold on. Let me see. Thomas, how do I do it? I want to keep the 110 jobs. I don't want to do furloughs. By the way, I'm being furloughed, so I'm really concerned about that one. How do I do it? What do I cut?
Like I said, the difficult part, not funny, is that there isn't any other option. I mean, we could go, a couple options we can is, let's not feed the inmates at the Department of Corrections. Let's not fund the operations of the 911 center. I mean, those are the types of contracts that we would have to get rid of in order to not do these two things. To put it in context, it's $15 million that we'd have to identify on the government side.
Let me do this because I'm going to go back to the questions. I want to make sure that they're ready. Betty?
Next question. Taxation of landlines. Taxation of landlines.
Just to do all.
Taxation of, thank you, sir. Taxation of landlines is absurd. Verizon will tell you there is a massive loss of landline retention. Why isn't the county executive targeting all telecommunications to generate school revenue?
The telecommunications tax hits both
I didn't even have
cell
to pull them
phones
in.
and landlines. So, and one thing we want to get clear, because when folks see your bill, and I'll give myself an example on both sides. You know, Verizon, I have Fios, who does internet, does the landlines, everything. So my bill's about $250 a month. The only piece that we're taxing is that small little $40 that in most cases is your landline bill. The rest of it we don't tax. We can't tax it by federal law. Same thing on your cell phone. A bunch of us have iPads around here that have data plans. That's not taxed. It's only the actual piece that relates to the cellular phone that we're taxing. So the vast majority of your 200-plus bill, if you got 3 or 4 phones like I do, we're not taxing. It's only a very, 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 very small portion of it.
Any next question?
Here's an interesting question. When you close schools, why don't you move county offices out of private buildings to this closed school?
There you go. Clue in, comment. Why aren't we moving? I just heard, what are we doing on that?
We've actually, since he's been here, and we've taken advantage of the real estate market on the office building, because we were paying about $10 million a year in leases when he came in office in December 2010. Because of the commercial real estate, we've actually bought several buildings that actually save us significant amounts of money. So instead of us paying a landlord $10 million a year, we actually own the building and we're saving money that we can reinvest. So we've taken advantage of that the last 4 or 5 years.
And we are moving some of our offices into Claggett Elementary School, for example, some of our professional development, because the Oxon Hill Professional Development Center needs so much work, it's hardly habitable, so we're actually moving offices into Claggett.
Very good. Betty?
What's being done to assist parents with the new Common Core work? Education of parents with this new learning style. I bet a lot of people want to know about that.
Yeah, so no, I think that's a great question, and I think that's part of this budget. Also hits parent advocates, for example, that are, and we expanded that last year by 30 more, and we're going to expand it even further with the new budget request. It was interesting when I got here last year, there was basically not really any function for parent training, parent education of any significance. We had a constituent services offices that handled things, and last year we organized a parent outreach organization that Sheila Jackson from our Comar offices is running, and we're going to put some more work into that too. But part of their charge, they supervise the parent advocates that are assigned to individual schools as well. But part of their charge is also to provide training for parents around the county, work with the county PTA, work with individual schools, and provide that work. In the meantime, there are a lot of websites, the state PTA, the national PTA, there are a lot of websites that have all this information for parents on what the tests look like, how to help your children, and I think we actually have some links to that. If we don't, I can make sure those links go up, but I think we actually have some links from our website to those websites. But in terms of actual, in a room with parents, schools are doing that work. They're working with their own parents through their PTA organizations. But we have this new function that just started this school year under Sheila Jackson. At the behest of the board, I would add, they really pushed us last year in the budget process to do something more for parents.
Speaking of board,
School-based budgeting.
let me finish this other part about Common Core, just because on top of everything else, the board, we do 3 parent workshops on Common Core every year. We're going to work hard to get it out. Parents, please come. We've done 2 already. The third is the third one. All right, yeah, okay. We had it on May 1st, but we have another one coming this year. We'll do 3 more next year, where we walk parents through what the Common Core is, how it applies to your students, what the new test is going to look like, what kinds of new skills, knowledge, and ability your students are going to develop as a result of this. So please do pay attention to that. We are working very hard to get the word out.
Okay. Let me just for housekeeping. So at 9 o'clock, we're officially over. But what I want to do is read through the questions until 9 o'clock. And I promise if you have questions afterwards, I'm willing to stay here as long as you are and to answer those. But I want to read through the questions until we get to 9 o'clock because that's the closing hour. Unless it's going to be beat up by some maintenance people. All right. So Betty?
Here's the next one. Where are you planning any new school buildings?
Are you going to read them all? You want to read them all first?
No, we can read that. The answer, we'll give you the answers, then we'll read through the next question.
So we don't have sites other than Fairmont Heights, which is opening on a new site, and we're going to build that while the original Fairmont Heights is occupied. But the sites I mentioned earlier that we need a couple middle schools in the north, we don't really have sites for those yet. Those are under study. We definitely have a problem. Our schools are bursting in the northern half of the county, and we just don't have seats. But we know we need 2 schools. We just don't own property that says where that can be. So, and we don't have the funding for that yet either. Mr. Baker and myself, Dr. Eubanks, and some others went to the state last year and asked them on the capital side to do the same thing, to increase funding for our capital program. We have a $2 billion backlog, $2 billion with a B dollar backlog on school construction and facility needs in this county. And you know, at the rate that we're investing in the capital side of this, in our lifetimes, nobody in this room will this be resolved unless we figure out a way to do that differently. So we don't own property to build the 2 new schools, 2 middle schools we need in the north. We're working on that, finding a solution to that.
Yeah, well, Betty reads the next question. I'm going to get the next question. Let me just add to that one. Well, y'all doing this to me. Somebody saying a joke on me. Anyway, to add, it takes some a minute. See, I'm impatient. That was always my problem at school. I was impatient. So, did I turn it off?
Yes.
Oh, I sure did. But I need to go to here. Just to add on real quick to Dr. Maxwell. So on the part of the capital, we've actually gone to, that's the building of the schools and renovation. We've actually gone to the state and said, listen, we're willing to do a 2-to-1 match. We will put 2 of our dollars to your 1, because it's actually a joint project. Building of schools is a function of the state and the locality. So we have our money. We don't need to raise revenues for that. What we need is for the state to come and to be willing to put their share in. And thus far, we've been badgering the state. So that's one thing we can talk to the state about, but we're ready to move forward with that. Betty?
There was one question in that last conversation was asked about school-based budgeting, a follow-up on that question. And in the current budget, the money that is directly at the discretion of the schools, right, like Capitol Heights Elementary School, Central, Fairmont, all the different schools, the total of that in our budget is $434,045,474. That's what they control when they make decisions about whether they're going to, lower class size by hiring an additional teacher, or what they do with school supplies and those kind of things. That's the money that is at the discretion of individual schools. This new budget proposal gives $20 million additional dollars to be divided out through schools throughout the district. That's all done on a formula based on farms kids, special needs kids, other kinds of factors that we have. And so not every school gets an even part of that. Obviously, some schools are big, some schools are small. And again, it's based on a formula that's driven by the needs of the schools in that district. Capitol Heights Elementary School that we're sitting in right now will get a $38,000 increase next year if this, if the budget, when the budget is enacted.
That's only like 25% of the.
We're going to go through questions, and at 9 o'clock, we're going to be able to. Go ahead.
Property assessment and housing market are still underwater, and why is there nothing being done about this, yet property taxes are increasing?
I think now I've waited, it's come up. So I think we actually talked about this before, and that is the only way we're going to rebound, and the reason we have not rebounded the same way other jurisdictions is because the other jurisdictions, like Fairfax, Arlington, Montgomery, Anne Arundel, they have first-rate school systems. And so therefore, their houses are more marketable. So in order for us to do this, we've got to do a couple of things. One, we've got to increase, we've got to make sure public safety is doing its job and crime is down. 2, we have to do the economic development, which we're doing. But 3, the most important, the single most important thing is to have a first-rate school. If you have a first-rate school, you can then go and say, hey, 24 or 28 of the schools in Montgomery County are in the top 1,000 in the state. Fairfax County can look out here and say, we've got the #1 school in Virginia. We have to be able to do the same in order for us to see our property values go up, or it's going to take us a while, and that's why we're doing that. Betty, next question we're going to get in.
Can we use our AAA bond rating to invest in our schools and reduce the tax increase to a smaller amount?
Comments?
In order to issue debt, it can't be for people. We don't borrow to pay salaries. We borrow to renovate schools, to build new schools, and so because we are AAA, that does actually save us money in the long run so that we can reinvest it. It's just like having good credit. You know, if you have good credit, your borrowing cost is lower, so now you have more income to spend on something else that's discretionary.
Time. What's the 15 cent going to?
15 cent is going to the school, 100% to the school system to fund the investments that Dr. Maxwell.
Okay, so what the AAA bond rating going to?
The AAA bond rating helps us to build schools, renovate schools, to build roads, build fire stations, build police stations.
So 15 cent is going to the people.
No, you're right. So hold it. The 15 cents is going to the people in operation in schools. So the AAA bond rating for the county, we can use that for a capital project. That means that's when we say we have the money to build schools, but we need the state's portion, that means that's why we're not asking you to raise revenues to build schools. We have that. We can borrow from our AAA. But what we can't do from the county's AAA is go into people. That's why the tax increase can only go to schools. So they're the ones controlling that. Last question, and then we can get into our free fall.
Of the 110 layoffs, how many positions are currently vacant?
None.
None. These are real people. These
None.
are real people.
None. None. They are real, actual individuals with jobs and mortgages and kids who go to school. They are real, actual individuals with jobs and mortgage, with kids that go to school, health costs, all of those things. And taxes. That's right. They get all of it. And I can't do anything about it because in order for me to do that, I'd have to then, and the only way I can get around it is to then lay off some other folks in order to make room for them. There is no printing press. The state is not sending me out. Anybody state call while I was here? Got any money for me? No. Federal government didn't send me no money. So yeah. So now, is that the last question?
No, Mr. Baker, there's a really good one here.
Okay.
Dr. Maxwell,
They have all been good.
you have addressed graduating students. They are doing a project to graduate. Teachers are eating, talking on the phone, looking up lottery tickets, and you want to give them a raise?
All right, everybody heard that? No.
Well, I'm not sure who wrote that question, but I'll tell you, I spend a pretty good amount of time in schools, so do my board members. We have one member of the executive team who oversees schools here tonight, and I just don't think that represents the vast majority of our teachers. When I'm in schools, they're working really, really hard, delivering their lessons. They bring papers home to grading at night, lesson planning at night. But if you have a particular school or teacher or somebody you're concerned about, I'd ask you to go see Dr. Green right there in the print press, and she will be happy to have the right person take a look at whatever that situation is. Look, our teachers are dealing with higher class sizes and tougher workloads than in many school districts around the region and across the country. And they're doing a yeoman's job with what they're dealing with. The increases that we got in graduation rates, and test results, promotion rates, and our growth in enrollment speaks, I think, to the hard work that they're doing. And so, again, there may be somebody or a couple people that aren't doing what they should do, but it doesn't represent the vast majority of our employees.
Let me do this. Let me do housekeeping. So what we're going to do, because I did promise I'd get you out of here at 9, so bear with me. What I'd like to do, we've got about 7 questions. We've got 7 questions that people have written, and we promised we would read them. Let me go through the 7 that are here. If after those 7, you don't get your question asked, I promise you I will stay here. I can't speak for Dr. Maxwell or Dr. Eubanks, but I can promise you this. The people who work for the county, because they don't know who the 110 people are yet. I think they do this great.
We understand. We got the message, Mr. Baker.
So So what we're gonna do is, if you let me, we're gonna read through these questions, and then I will stay here. I'm one of those one, it might be me.
Are after-school tutorial programs in every school? If not, why not, especially for students who just need more support? Homework completion, math and/or reading, etc.
So most of our schools are providing additional support. We can't make kids, stay after school, and we've been limited in the amount of activity buses and things we have, and so transportation is an issue. But I would say that during the school day, we have a lot of support, and in our current budget proposal, again, we have a literacy coach for every single school in the school district to deal with those kids that have fallen behind. We have a rollout plan where those are going to come in. They're going to deal with reading issues and with math issues. And we just want to, we understand that that's still an issue. We do over the holidays and over the summer, we send home packets of work for kids to do and to keep on. We have some summer school programs for both remedial for kids that have fallen behind and for acceleration and other kinds of programs. But I can't guarantee that every single school has an after-school program, but I can guarantee you that almost every school has at least several teachers who are staying after and working with groups of kids that are able to stay if they have a way to get home.
All focus has been on property taxes. However, no discussion has happened with regard to the personal property tax increase or the justification for it.
Comments?
I mean, and business personal property is if you run a business and you have equipment that produces a widget that you sell, or that you have computers in your business, those things we tax it is called personal property. So one of the things we did was, again, trying to balance out so that everybody is contributing, is that we essentially mirrored the 15 cents on the personal property side. And that's what it's doing. It's trying to balance this out, so it's not just hitting residents, it's not just hitting people who may own a building, but not necessarily the things inside the building. So that was the rationale for it.
Full K-12 funding by Governor Hogan. As one of the largest systems, how does that translate into full teacher funding and services for our students? As one of the largest systems, how does, if we had gotten full funding from Governor Hogan, how would that translate?
Yeah, so the governor, as we understand the budget, again, the news reports are out. I wasn't in Annapolis last night when the legislature ended at midnight. But as we understand it, the Geographic Cost of Education Index, which Prince George's County gets more of than any other of the 23 counties in the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland, that $20 million was halved. And what that means is the equivalent of 300 teacher positions, for example. So there's no way to say exactly what it meant, but when we put our budget together, we were putting our budget together based on what we thought we were going to get from the state. And so this $20 million reduction is obviously painful for us. I'm not saying when I say it's the equivalent of 300 teachers that I'm laying off 300 teachers or that I won't hire, we have 900 teachers retired that I'll only hire 600. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying it's a lot of money and it means a lot to this district. And we're very disappointed that they couldn't work out a compromise at the state that the House of Delegates and the Senate tried to get through. They were courageous in their leadership trying to protect public education funding, but the governor apparently is just not having it, and that's very disappointing.
Well, I think the thing, and I think this gets to the heart of the question, is if we had gotten that money, could we have reduced the amount that we asking for in terms of the property tax increase? We certainly would have looked at that, because that would have given us the opportunity, because we would be getting money back from the state. But without having the money back from the state, that option of looking to fund our school system is taken away. So I think that was the question. Could we have looked at it? Yes. If we had gotten that money in, I think we would have looked at whether, in fact, across the board, is there a way we could see a reduction? Eddie?
Is the property tax formula correct for the assessed values of homes because my current taxes are much more than what's listed? Please explain how some people will pay less and others pay more, and I think we've addressed this previously.
But I think, Betty, you can comment.
But if ever who's the person, you want to come up to me and just talk to me afterwards, I can, if you give me your address, and we'll figure it out to make sure that you're paying the right amount.
Generally, how do they pay? Generally, how do you pay?
It's based on assessment, so it's not based on the value of your house. As far as, you could sell your house for $400,000, but the assessment is not tied to that. It's usually lower than what the market value is. So when, for example, real quick, my house, the assessor told me when I bought my house in Bowie at $400 and some thousand. When the market went up, the assessor said my house was 500 and some thousand, and magically in a year it was 550, 560. We were not taxing me at that level because the state has various programs to protect homeowners from rapid escalations like we went through as a county. So even though your value went up, what we could tax only went up a little bit, and that was a good thing because we want to protect people's ability to pay. But every road it, see me afterwards, and we'll figure it out if you're paying the right amount, or if there's an error in your tax bill.
In raising the property tax to 15 cents per hundred, did you consider that Prince George's has the highest rate in foreclosure? And what plans are in place for home rehabilitation, especially with property taxes proposed to increase?
I mean, we did consider that. We also considered the issue that a lot of folks have raised is our taxes are higher. You've heard it. You know, the reason why we're higher because our values are lower because it's primarily the school system. What we've done to help with foreclosures is a number of things. There's a reason why when in March 2011 we hit rock bottom in the county in real estate. The median sales price was $155,000, March 2011. March just came out the other day, March 2015. The values are up almost 50% from that bottom. There's a reason why, a couple reasons for that. One is the reductions in crime that are going on. Number two, we've done a number of programs to stabilize the hard-hit areas. We've assisted several hundred people to get into homes in areas that were hard hit by foreclosures and get them into homes. Whether it's that done, it stabilized those communities and actually raised the values in most cases. We have a program to assist folks who because of an illness, they cannot make their mortgage. We have a program for that. And recently in November, we teamed with the state of Maryland on what we call Triple Play program. That program was so successful that the state of Maryland shut it down in 2 months because we were able to help over 500 homeowners get into homes in this county at discounted rates with assistance from the money we got and also the money the state had. So we are doing a number of things to stabilize the market.
Just 2 or 3 more. Maybe if the county concentrates on getting buyers for all the vacant properties in the county, we would earn extra money on those properties, thereby offsetting the need for the increased taxes. And this is another one that I know a lot of people have. Can this proposal be put on the ballot?
Let me answer the, it came on. The first one was about the vacant properties. So we are moving, as Tom just explained, with HUD, with the state, and with our departments trying to move those. The reason ours aren't moving as quickly as the others who went through this, it comes back to our schools. If we had schools that were in the top tier, they would move off a lot faster. The only way we're going to move them off is to do 3 things. One is public safety, make sure crime is down, which we're doing. The other is try to attract businesses and retail to the county, which we're doing. And the third thing, and most important thing, is improve our education. That's why this is an investment. We're almost finished. We're going to get to open mic. The other part, the reason that, and it's the legislature. The reason the legislature, gave this authority to locality, so it's not unique to Prince George's County. We're not the only place with a tax cap. In fact, the jurisdiction they were going after where I think it's Talbot has it. A lot of the conservative counties have these tax caps. The state is actually paying almost 100% of their education funding. So 100% is what the state's almost paying. So the people in the state looked at this nice little map right here, and this is it. They said, this map here said, in Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County. Anne Arundel County, we're paying, we the state legislators who voted on this, we're paying 32% for Anne Arundel County. We're paying 40% for Calvert County. We're paying 27% or 30% for Montgomery County. We're paying 55% for Prince George's County. And they said, guess what? Those of us who live in Western Maryland, Eastern Shore, we're not as wealthy as Prince George's County. Why am I taking my money from Western Maryland, Eastern Shore, sending it to fund Prince George's County? Why don't those good people in Prince George's County invest in their school system? And so the state passed a bill that said, guess what? Because we would go back to them and say, we would, but we can't raise revenues because we're restricted. They said, okay, I'm really tired of hearing that. So therefore, what we're going to do, so we don't have to give you our money, you, Prince George's County, we're going to get together, 141 of us, and we're going to vote that you have the right now to raise your revenues yourself to fund your children in your schools. That's why we're allowed to do it. Because for 30 years, we had a great excuse we could give to them. We simply can't do it. So they got sick and tired of hearing, this is honest truth, they got sick and tired of hearing our great excuse, and they said, guess what? We're taking it away. So that's why now you can do it. Next question?
Mr. Baker, we've just about gone through our questions. I just wanted to note that there are a couple of people who had questions not about education but about economic development. And our two economic development gurus are here in the room. Can you please raise your hand? Dave Iannucci and Bradley Frome. So if you have questions about economic development and things that can happen here in Capitol Heights, can you see one of these two gentlemen?
Yes, they're right in the back here. They would love to talk to you. They're excited that you're going to ask economic development questions. Please go see them. They're great workers. All right, Eddie?
Mr. Baker, did you say you wanted to go?
Yeah, so I wanted to,
We have,
So-
You said
so
you
what-
could read all of the cards, and I haven't heard my question asked. But my question is, I was watching Channel 9 News, and I heard one of the reporters smirkingly say that County Executive Baker, that most counties would raise taxes by 3 or 4%, and he laughed and said, you know, it's outrageous to suggest that we would increase it by 15%, and that most counties would revolt if you even considered 3 or 4%. So how do you respond to what the reporters, is he misinformed? Because all evening, I've heard 15 cents. Now, was that misinformation?
no, it's 15 cents, but look, that's a great question.
Because he suggested that, you know, other counties would be in an uproar, but we're going to accept 15%, and it's, you know, pretty outrageous of you.
That is a great question. Everybody heard it. So what we're proposing is 15 cents. What would that come out to be? I believe I'm correct, Thomas, right? It's 21% increase in the education budget. About 21?
With all the increases, yes.
With all, that's not on property tax, that's everything else we're doing, 21%. And on his face, he was right. He said, that is just outrageous. I can't believe you'd have the nerve to raise taxes 21%. Didn't you just see we got a Republican governor ran against taxes? I must have lost my freaking mind. And you know why? The reason other counties aren't raising it 21%, 15%, 10%, the reason they're not doing that? Because for 30 years, they have invested in their education system. For 30 years, For 30 years, we have not, which means even with the 21% increase, we will be paying $703 million. Montgomery County will pay $1.2 billion for their school system and their children. Why are we losing teachers to DC, Montgomery County, Fairfax County? Because we can't keep up with the pay. We don't have the resources because we have not invested the same way other jurisdictions have. And the only reason we have this tool is the state said we are sick and tired of you coming to us asking us for more money. So yes, the reason we have to do this and the reason we asked Dr. Maxwell to give us a budget that will move us from the bottom. If we're satisfied with being at the bottom, then let's just say that. In order for us to get off the bottom and to move to the top tier, which we should be, it's going to require us to invest 15 cents. Yes, he is laughing because I bet he does not live in Prince George's County. And in his county, if he looks at his tax bill over the last 30 years, they have invested. In fact, I will close with this and get to the next question. Montgomery County executive said, guess what? I am not increasing property taxes this year for education. I'm not doing it. But I am going to increase your property taxes next year. I'm going to tell you in advance. I'm increasing it next year. The county council said, no, we're actually considering increasing it this year. Why? Because we have to be competitive with Howard County and Fairfax County. No, we have not done it for 30 years. We did not have the tool, and that's why we're raising it here, to raise the level. I'll turn it. Right here, this gentleman is very patient.
I don't have children. My children are grown.
So are mine.
But my thing is this. According to the newspaper and what I'm seeing all over this area, people that's moving to this area don't have children. So how are we going to bring them people into this area with the lack of resources that we have?
That's a good question. Everybody here, a lot of people who move into the area don't have children. Or they're like me. You know, my 3 young adults went through our public school system. They're now in college, but they're not in the school system. The only way, but it gets back to the value of the houses that people are buying here. The way that we bring up that big investment, and for us, especially African American and Latino, the biggest investment we have are our homes. The only way we ensure that investment is good, the only way we can get them a return is because of our public education system. One follow-up, because I got a lot of people.
No, I got one little thing.
Okay, no, you get one follow-up.
You say education. My fiance lives in Montgomery County. And she would not come down here to eat because of the lack of restaurants that you have. And they call it mediocre. They call it subpar. She call it fast food chain restaurants. And she from Charleston. And first thing that people say from Charleston, y'all live like y'all poor.
So, to answer that question, which is why we're investing $50 million of EDI funds to attract restaurants over here. So if you look at what we're doing at National Harbor, MGM, the quality of restaurants that are there are going up. So not just MGM, so that's the southern part of the county. We're the new hospital where we're putting $650 million in a regional healthcare facility is not just a hospital, it's actually a whole development. So you'll have restaurants, places to live, all of those things around it. We'll do the same thing in the northern part of the county. We got a brand new hotel conference center coming. So we're answering the economic development question. We're actually moving toward that line and we're making progress. We're going to have more development in this county than any other place at one time in the state has ever seen. We're about $6 billion. And if we get the FBI, which is a $2 billion development, it's not just bringing the FBI here, it's bringing the restaurants and the retails that go with it. So we're answering that question that she has. So we're going to tell her she's going to have a great place to eat. And there's great places right now. Oh, I can't get your follow-up. I got the young lady back. You got the show.
Thank you. Okay, just like this lady right here, my question wasn't even put up there. And it is about education, so it's for you, Dr. Maxwell, and if you can jump in, please do so. Now, from what I'm understanding, we have funding, but it's limited. And it sounds like you're saying that maybe we can't get more teachers in. I heard you comment about overcrowded classrooms. Now I'm gonna put myself out there. I have gone on the website. I'm an aspiring teacher. I'm currently in school to be a teacher. I have passed the praxis with the highest score of 4.8. I have applied for the parapro position. My question to you, sir, is if you're saying we have overcrowded classrooms, then why can't people like myself, who've been applying, get in and take the heat or take the pressure off of some of those teachers? Why are these teachers subjected to teaching 2 grades in one room, being overcrowded? It's like you're overworked and underpaid. I'm trying, I'm out there, I'm trying to help out, but it's like, I'm being helped, and when I call the schools, the principals, myself, I'm being told that they're not hiring for these positions. So what's with the smoke screen?
So there's no smoke screen. I mean, we have a,
And I have a quick comment for County Executive Baker.
Okay.
You've done a great job, but, and you can pass this to the White House or wherever. I feel that if we stop giving these jobs to these private contractors and reinvest in homes, not overseas, we won't have a layoff problem. We won't have this problem, period. We need this, I found out we have a county government building that is being contracted to people from India that can do the job that my husband can do. That's not right and that's not fair. You want me to vote for you, but give me something to believe in.
I hear you. I hear you. You're actually, one of the things, and in addition, I'm with you. I'm going to pass this to the White House and to the because it really is. In order for us, the other way that would alleviate, and this didn't come up, the other way we could alleviate not having to raise the percentage the young lady was talking about, percentage of property tax up, the other way, if we had this tool that I don't have, that currently Montgomery County has, and that is they have a robust commercial tax base. Our tax base is 70% residential property taxes, 70%. 30% comes from businesses. Montgomery County has a balance of about, what is it, Tom?
They're more 60-40.
They're more 60-40. So they have some options around the business taxes that are coming in. What we're trying to do with the economic development folks that we've been trying, that are back there, that we're going to talk about, this gets to your job. What we're trying to do in the county is actually bring those jobs to the county. Look at what is being privatized out and seeing if we can actually have, not so much against privatization, but having the opportunity for people who live in Prince George's County to get those jobs. That's one of the things we said to MGM. It's a private company. But the jobs that are going to be created, we want them to go to county residents. The contracts you're going to let out should be county businesses. And the same thing with the hospital. So we're looking at building that. And we're making progress. We're just not making enough progress on that end to allow us to tap into it. So the next thing, I'm going to turn over to Dr. Maxwell. And is that camera rolling? Okay, don't put this on the camera, but I got to go to the restroom. I'll be right back.
So I need a little bit more information about the particular job that you're talking about. There are, hang on, let me finish. There are a couple different ways. There are a couple things going on right now. First of all, we're hoping that we're going to have some of the positions for this next fiscal year that are in the budget, and we know we can't wait until July 1 and fill all those positions. So we've been posting some jobs that we're not actually funded for yet. But if it's a current position, I mean, we're trying to create a pool. We're trying to have people ready so that if we're hiring, the literacy coaches and the parent advocates, things that we're, getting a queue built up essentially so that we have people ready and available to go. If it's a current position that's already funded and somebody's retired or, whatever, and that position is still there, I'm not sure what the headache is. I don't see people's individual things when they file it. But if you give me your name, if you could write that down for me and tell me what you've applied for, I'll have somebody call you tomorrow. But I also want to, just make a point that to your other issue of, why don't you let people get hired? I can't hire people I don't have the money for, right? I can't fill positions that I don't own. I can say that in next year's budget, I'm gonna hire these parent advocates, these literacy coaches, these whatever, but I can't do that if I don't get the funding to do it. And so I can't just lower it because I want to lower it. I got to have the funding to lower it, and that's what this increase is about.
I have one question. Yes, Dr. Maxwell, you didn't answer my question. I had asked, why are the students able to take a project? They're doing a project to graduate. And this is not just one school. This is many
So the
schools.
state, and I don't know, I'm not sure how that's going to change when the park comes in, because we don't have the baseline park stuff. But when we had the HSA, the high school assessment requirements, the state put in an alternative for kids that were struggling with the test. We have a good number of kids who know material, but they're not really very good test takers. And so the state created this option. Just like they created an option that if you had a pretty high score on 3 of the tests, but not the 4th one, they also had a way to graduate without getting the cut score on all of them, but by averaging the scores together to say, okay, well, they got a really good score here, here, and here, but they're just not making quite the cut there. So that's a state mandate, a state rule, and they put in the projects, if that's the project that I understand that you're talking about. So if you failed the history, the social studies HSA, then you could do a project. But that project is mandated for what it is by the state. It has to be done in a certain way. It has to be scored in a certain way. It's more of a hands-on way of displaying that you know the information from the
But
course.
if I could just, let me just do this. Come on up. Where's our beautiful principal? Come on up here. She is great. Can we give her a round of applause? It's been a long day. She's been here all day, and she opened the school up for us. And unfortunately, we're going to still talk, but the folks have to start getting this room ready for breakfast. So the baby's got to eat. So what we have to do is they have to come in here and they have to start moving those chairs. So y'all can be patient with that.
No, you can stay here, but we're gonna get it ready.
We're going to start working around you. So we're going to be backing up this way so those nice guys that come in and give them a round of applause. Where are they? Please, thank you very much. In the hallway.
For those of you who are leaving,